All right, so I think it's only fitting, being it tax season, that we have a little rant session about taxes and go off a little bit. And I think this is actually going to be a two-parter because, you know, the other portion of this is going to be tax evasion and how that shit happens. But so one thing that I wanted to kind of talk about, because a lot of people didn't realize this, one of the biggest things that Trump ran on was tax-free overtime. And I don't, he never, I was sitting there watching it, and I used chat and I used Gemini to try and help find, where he said it, and it, like, explicitly explained it for the people that don't know tax code and shit, right? So, a lot of people thought that just meant, like, any amount that you make on overtime isn't taxed, and they thought the same thing for the no tax on tips and shit. And it's completely a lie. It's a complete lie, right? Like, you're actually capped. Single people, as usual, single people always get fucked the absolute most. But it's capped per year at $12,500. $12,500. Now, I haven't made, and then, sorry, for married people, it's double the price, right? Like, so you get $25K if you're married, between both of you. So you can deduct $25,000. Now, here's the key components of this. This is over the entire year. So you still pay taxes at the normal rate throughout the entire year. And then at the end, you get to claim either $12,500 or $25,000, depending on if you're married or single, as a deduction. Now, a couple things on this. Number one, $12,500 is not much. It's not much. Like, and this is only applies to anything over normal pay. So if you make time and a half, which is the standard go rate for overtime, and then if you work on like holiday, you might get like double time, or some people even got double time and a half, depending on how it worked out and stuff. That's the only amount that you can claim. Now, put that in context. Back when I was working hourly, one of my last hourly jobs, I was a maintenance technician, an automation technician, for a plastic company, and I happened to be doing this during the fucking COVID insanity that came about. And the plastics that I did were actually food grade, so a lot of people don't realize how the food chain works in this. But with everybody hoarding shit in the grocery stores and stuff, like perishables, our business was booming, right? Like, as a plastic manufacturer, because we made like all the yogurt cups and the sour cream cups and all kinds of shit like that. There was a few others. Anyways, so we were booming. So I was working there for a while. We got put on mandatory 7 days a week. Like, I was working 84 hours a week on a lot of occasions. And, not every week, but, we were working mass overtime. So with what I was making there, $12,500, because I was technically single, and then even if I was married, $25,000. That for me, during the COVID boom, I made $25K in about 2 months. So, the rest of the year, so the next 10 months, they were obsolete. Like, I couldn't, not obsolete, they were invalid. I couldn't claim them, right? Like, not that they had it back when I was doing this. They didn't have the, no tax on overtime. But I'm just trying to put that in context. And it's that way because that was, God, man, I mean, how long ago was COVID? But, that was that long ago. So now you take in today's wages, because it's still time and a half. But if you up those wages and whatnot, so it might be even less. And then especially with all the shit that's going on right now, this is a fantastic example, even though it's happening in the new year. But for next year, all these line workers, because of this massive fucking snowstorm and winter storm that hit like pretty much the entire fucking country, and there's so many fucking power lines down, and people are, what did I say? I read somewhere that like a lot of these linemen are on rotating 16-hour shifts, so they're working fucking doubles, right? Like, so that's literally 40 hours a week, and these linemen make like, you know, $50 an hour. So on time and a half, they would make $75 an hour. You know, so you do the math on that. Like, they're gonna cap out probably in a month, right? Like, you know, just like that, because they're not getting weekends off. They ain't getting nothing off until all the power is restored. So, you know, it's gonna they're gonna cap out really quickly, and people don't realize that, right? Like how fast overtime compounds when you're trying to claim it and shit, right? And not to mention, you also have to be careful because we're still in a progressive tax bracket, right? So that overtime also will bump them up into another. So even if they make, you know, let's say they make 40,000 or some shit, chances are they're going to get bumped up into the next tax bracket, and then they're still going to have to pay at the higher tax bracket for that overtime. You know, maybe 15 or 25 is covered, or maybe 12.5, depending on if they're single or not. You know, they're still going to get fucked over on all of this shit, right? And a lot of people are doing this. And the other portion that I kind of wanted to talk about is because a lot of people were thinking that this was going to be an upfront, right? And I think that's my biggest frustration with the overtime, and why I absolutely believe there should be no tax. It shouldn't be capped. It shouldn't be a deduction at the end of the year. But if I work overtime, you know, I'm, as a married man and a father, if I work overtime, chances are I'm doing that for something, you know. 99.9% of the time, we're falling behind on bills, especially in this fucking today's economy. But something went wrong, right? An air conditioner went out, a dryer broke, a washing machine needs replaced, the fucking refrigerator is on its fucking, you know, in today's equivalency, a fucking 18-month, you know, life expectancy. So, you know, every few years you got to replace a fucking refrigerator because of firmware update or some stupid shit. So, you know, or maybe school is coming up, you know, maybe they've got sports. So you're working overtime for that. Well, you can't pay overtime once you get your tax return, right? Or you can't pay for these extracurricular activities once the taxes come back, right? Like, I didn't have a pep talk with my refrigerator when it goes out and say, hey, I'm going to get my taxes back in like, you know, February, March time frame. Could you go out then? You can't ask your dryer or your roof to not leak, or, you know, whatever the fuck it is that you're working the overtime to fix. You can't ask it to wait until you get a fucking tax return, right? Like, I'm working that fucking overtime for me. I'm working that overtime for my family. I'm working that overtime for something that fucking broke. Something unexpected happened. A car broke down. The house fucking caught flame. Fucking something, right? Like, I can't wait until February or March or, you know, April, whenever the fuck, because like right now I'm still waiting on literally one motherfucking W-2, my wife's last W-2 before she became a stay-at-home, right? Like, I'm waiting on that one because this fucking douchebag ass company wants to wait. Oh, it's legal to wait until January 31st. So yeah, I gotta wait. They're probably gonna mail it out January 31st, you know, like, and then we'll get it like a week or two later because the fucking postal service is even lagging behind, right? So, I can't even file taxes until I get that one W-2, and she no longer works there, so it's not as easy as just logging on and getting it. Like, we've already tried that. We've already called them. They're like, no, you're not employed there. You can't have that. So, we can't even get it that way. So, but what I'm trying to say is, like, you know, we can't wait until the next year. We can't schedule. You can't schedule something to fuck up, right? Like, you can't schedule for it to wait until February, March, April, until you get your fucking taxes back. It just doesn't work that way. So it should be, if you're working overtime, you shouldn't pay taxes on them, period. It should not even be included. Your tax bracket should be established if we're going to keep taxes in the progressive tax system, right? Your tax bracket should be established based on essentially a salary, right? Like, so if you only work 40 hours a week at this hourly rate, this is what you're going to pay, right? And not to mention, like, this would make it so much simpler, right? Like, the taxes, it's this, like, mythical fucking creature or some shit. Like, nobody fucking actually understands how it works, except for, millionaires and billionaires and shit like that in the U.S. fucking government. Because, again, going off the same rant, but, they don't teach this in school. They don't teach any of this shit in school, so you don't know about the deductions, you don't know about the rebates. I sure as fuck don't get an update, every year. Like, thank God for ChatGPT and Gemini, because I'm able to, ask them, like, okay, I'm coming up to taxes. Are there any crazy tax, benefits or rebates that I can claim this year? And you have to go through everything that you did, and you got to make sure you list out if you own a home, your mortgage interest. If you're paying student loans, you got to list those. If you're paying, had insane medical costs, I mean, that will I think I've already kind of went down the health insurance portion, but like, as if the American health insurance isn't complex or convoluted enough, now you got to add taxes into it too, right? Like, if you paid X amount, then you got to claim this, and if you didn't pay this, then you got to claim that, and all kinds of stupid shit. Not to mention, I still get these fucking pointless ass forms of, oh, you had health insurance in the prior year. Like, yeah, okay, because I was fucking forced to forever. Thanks, Obama. But you look at how it's working, and it's like we just, the taxes, I getting a little flustered here. The taxes shouldn't be as complicated. If the fucking United States government needs my tax money, okay, fine. Yeah, we have fucking federal roads, we've got prisons, we've got, all kinds of fucking bullshit. Sure. But if I work overtime, I'm working that overtime because I need something. Like, I don't give a fuck, right? And I've went off about this before, because it's like, we have enough money to lose. The federal government's lost like $18 billion or some shit, and then the Pentagon keeps fucking failing audits. They don't know where the fuck the money is, and the money that the fucking Biden administration sent to Ukraine, nobody knows where the fuck that went. And then we're still sending money to like 170 fucking countries in the world and shit. Like, listen, motherfuckers, if you've got enough money to do that, then you don't need to tax my overtime. That's my money, right? Like, that's my money. But they do, right? Like, granted, I'm a salary employee now, so none of this fucking matters, because I'm known, salary employees are what the world actually sees as tax-free overtime, because I don't make money on overtime. So in fact, I lose money if I work overtime. So, we're the only salary employees are the only ones that actually fucking work tax-free overtime, right? Like, and it's not trying to knock anything there, right? Like, there's its ups and downs. Like, yeah, if I work overtime, then it's free. But I also, for the most part, I don't miss money if I have a fucking dentist appointment, or if I, need to go to the doctor or some shit. Like, I don't get docked for that. So, on average, right? So, I usually, obviously, I get paid lunches. Like, it's completely different animal, and it usually leverages out, right? So, I just don't have the ability for, if something goes wrong, well, yeah, then I'm, screwed. So, but yeah, so I mean, that's my part. And then the biggest frustration going back into it is, this isn't a permanent thing, right? And like, nothing's ever permanent. Any bill can get, I'm blanking on what the fucking word is. Any bill can get checked on later, or can get removed, or whatever. But President Trump, this is one that a lot of people also don't know. President Trump didn't sign this into permanent effect, right? Like, this actually expires conveniently in 2028. Well, what's 2028? Oh, that's the next election year. And who's more than likely going to be on the Republican ticket? Oh, J.D. Vance. Huh. So that means that, they're going to run on extending the fucking no tax on overtime. However, I would absolutely pray to the God that I don't believe in that maybe everyone's wizened up by then and realized, like, this is bullshit. Like, fuck off. You know, like, whoop-de-fucking-do. You saved me on, $12,500. You saved me, like, $200. I forget what I paid. Like, I think last year I paid some, just on my own, I paid some, like, $40,000 into federal taxes. Like, it's fucking insane. Like, if not even more than that. Thanks for the whole whopping $200. If you got a family of 4, that might be a Friday night out to Texas Roadhouse or some shit, like with the going fucking prices, that might be a cocktail or two when you go out to drown your fucking misery of giving all your fucking money to the federal government. So, that's the other portion, right? Like, not only did they lie about how they were going to do it, not only did they I won't say lie about it, but they weren't upfront with the implementation of the no tax on overtime. They weren't upfront with the caps, because don't forget, if you make over $150,000, all of it's wiped clean. So the 150, from what I understand, isn't even capped. Like, it doesn't fall into the progressive system. So it's like, you still get to claim this at, this amount. If you break 150K, which if you look at my last one, that's essentially barely above minimum wage of a boomer. But if you break 150K, you lose all of it. Then you get taxed on all of it. So they didn't even fucking do that, which I would be willing to bet, based on the hours and what the average lineman makes, I'd be willing to bet most of them are going to break out of the 150K. So they're going to get completely screwed, right? But they don't tell you this shit. Fox News obviously isn't going to be on there like, just so you know, it's capped at 12.5 for you single bastards and 25 for you married folks. Like, they're not going to fucking tell you that shit. Trump isn't going to come out and fucking tell you that shit up there. But that's the other portion, though, right? Because the man who thought this, and it just goes to kind of prove the conspiracy, I guess, if you want to call it that, but because obviously he's the same guy that's wanting to raise the retirement age to over 70. If he gets, they already raised it, I think, from 65 to 68 last I heard. So, and he wants to take it even higher than that, which just goes to prove that the motherfucker's never worked a day in his life, right? Like, he has no fucking clue. If you think that you can work past your 70s and shit, then you ain't never fucking shot a roofing nail. You ain't never fucking pulled screed and concrete. You ain't never fucking did carpentry. You ain't never framed a house. You ain't never done drywall. You ain't never done fucking plumbing. Like, you ain't never done none of this shit if you think that you can work well into your fucking 70s. And that just shows how much of a silver fucking spoon that motherfucker has been fed. But it also shows that he doesn't understand, because money has never been an issue for him. In his entire silver spoon-fed fucking life, money has never been an issue for Donald Trump. It's never been an issue. So he doesn't, if an air conditioner quits working, it doesn't even faze him. He doesn't have to check his bills and which ones he can move around. And if the fucking roof starts leaking, he calls a roofer, and he doesn't even have to get the ladder out and go caulk it until he can afford to call a roofer. He doesn't have to do any of this shit. So he doesn't understand that hourly employees are working this fucking overtime to fucking pay for something that they need right now, right? Like, if you dump 80 hours into a fucking work week right now, then you need that fucking 80 hours of pay right now, right? Like, your daughter's ballet shoes can't fucking wait until, February and March or in April, and even later, because some people wait even longer than that, which that's fucking asinine to me. Like, I'm trying to get in as soon as I fucking can, just because I don't want to fucking deal with it. But So that's the other portion, right? Like it's he just doesn't get that. We need that money right now. We need options, right? But obviously he wouldn't get this because all of his fucking banker friends or all of his friends are bankers, right? And he said that in I think it was the debate, his first presidential run, when he was debating Hillary Clinton. Like, he said, yeah, him and all of his buddies were doing all the, filing for the tax exemptions and shit like that. And he pretty much admits, like, yeah, all my buddies are bankers. So obviously he doesn't give a shit, because if you got to go get a payday loan, then his bankers are going to make a shit ton of money off you, right? Like, most payday loans are like 20-30 fucking % interest, if not even higher than that. So yeah, he don't give a fuck. He wants you to stay right where you're at, right? And this was nothing but a gimmick. The no tax on tips, the no tax on overtime was nothing but a running campaign gimmick, and that was all it ever is, right? So like I always say, you need to look into the fine print. You need to look at the headlines a few search results down, not the top one. So we'll hit this again after work.